In today's episode, I'm joined by Steve Eakins from Lumon to unpack the surprising trends shaping wealth movement in 2025. From why so many millionaires are leaving the UK to how agents can get currency insight, win instructions, and save deals, and even generate some extra income. If you're an estate agent wanting to future proof your business, this one is a must listen. Hope you enjoy it. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to this.
Excellent. I'll try not to disappoint. So before we jump into the data, the market trends, give everyone an update about what you do and what sort of clients you work with every single day.
Most people seem to have me in their phone as Steve Money or Steve Currency. I don't mind as long as it's memorable and not insulting. I'm fine with it. But in essence, I'm really a property savvy currency broker. So I basically help people move money around the world for property transactions.
And how long have you been doing that for?
Quite a while. I think I'm employee 19 and the firm. I've been doing it here for 18 odd years. And now there's 200 of us across 10 offices throughout Europe. So yeah, pretty big.
They're doing okay. They're doing okay. So talk me through then. So this is going to be a very broad question. So over those sort of nearly 20 years in the sort of currency world, how have the changes seen with regard to people moving their money when it comes to buying and selling? Because I guess you probably get certain peaks and troughs. So I'm going to take a stab in the dark here and say just before Brexit, for example, when everyone was sort of worrying about the UK side, I guess a lot of people were sending money to Europe to buy houses in Europe, or was it going back the other way? There's probably peaks and troughs and sort of waves that come in and go.
Correct. So, for those that are listening to this and don't get why I'm here, in essence, we offer clients better rates and better service than that of the banks. So it means that clients, if you've got an international buyer coming in, we can increase their offer. Or at the moment, probably more in demand because lots of people are coming out to the moment, which we can go on to if you're interested. It means that we can help them accept a lower offer because we're giving them more for their pounds. So we're all of a sudden a bit more in demand in this price sensitive market. With regards to changes and trends, certainly in the years I've been doing it, we've had hung governments, ash clouds, Brexit, COVID, and everything in between. And there are peaks and troughs of activity around it. The Brexit event basically contracted it and people wanted to move. So the amount of people that are actually relocating internationally every year is actually getting a bit smaller. As the generations get older and Airbnb and everything else, the generations of people that are going, yes, I want to relocate and want to buy a place in Spain is getting smaller. But if it helps give a scale, our average acquisition age of a client is 61. So that's the kind of average client.
And where is this speeding up? Because obviously, I know the headlines are like, every 2 seconds, a millionaire is leaving the UK to go somewhere else, sort of thing. Is that actually a thing, or is that just kind of like a doom-mongery, scary front page thing?
Bit of both. So the Henley and Partners report is the one that people keep on jumping onto because they put a marker in the sand around it. Got a lot of jib back from it, saying how and what's and everything else, but they reported an expectation of 16,500 millionaires leaving the UK this year. So about 300 a week or 60 in a morning. We're certainly seeing that trend of people leaving, but saying that it's like 0.5% of the millionaires in the UK are leaving. So it's a small proportion of it. But what I would equally highlight, it's the biggest outflow of people that we've seen in many, many years. So it's a stark increase. And whether or not the media turns it that everyone's leaving, not so much, but there's certainly a big increase in the amount of people that are leaving the UK at the moment. So from listeners here, well, 4 out of 5 of the clients I'm introduced to through the UK are people who are selling through that agent. So you will see more of it. Last year, the Rightmove data was about 100 completions a day when the funds were moving abroad, and that's only accelerating. So hopefully people that are listening to this are either going, yeah, I've had a few of these, or actually now I say it, or actually I've got one now, because it's certainly coming up. Yes.
So what's the big driving force behind these sort of the percentages of millionaires that are leaving and people with high net worth? What's the driving force that's kind of pushing them out of the country or making them want to leave the country?
Pick up any paper, and you've got the answer to that one, Chris, isn't it? The fear and tax, and I'm getting taxed more than I was before, and the country's down the drain, and all this kind of narrative and stuff. But generally speaking, uh, well, Spain is the top destination against every price point. So we've actually got half a dozen offices there and 40 people over there doing it who are bilingual in all the communities over there. So if you're holidaying over there, you might see a bus with our brand on. We're that big over there. But second is now Dubai. So Dubai is the second as of last year, and I think it's going to be only doing more of it. So yeah, people are leaving and going for a number of reasons, but it's generally that better life, better tax environment, and everything else.
And better weather, obviously, as we're recording this on a very wet day in
Yeah.
November. So talk about through the people coming back to the UK there, 'cause obviously you talk about sort of the flow of money coming leaving the UK and going to Spain and Dubai, et cetera. What's the flow of investment buyers coming back to the UK? 'Cause I imagine there's kind of peaks and troughs in this as well, 'cause I remember speaking to lots of clients, and they're like, you know, suddenly, as if by magic, we've got lots of people from Hong Kong coming over to buy properties sort of thing, 'cause certain things be going on over there. So what's the sort of flow like the other way?
Everyone in December and January really, you'll see a lot more people coming from Asia and China. You'll get a stock of inquiries all of a sudden. That's basically because they're planning their academic year and plan it out. At the moment, you'll also see some press go, loads of people from Turkey are coming. It's basically gone from 1% to 2%. It's minor, but again, it's the political uncertainty in Turkey. Um, Really, if I get 5 international clients coming into the UK introduced to me, 3 of them are American, so uber active, uber emotional. So if you listening to this have got any American inquiries, extra layer of white gloves, very much worth looking after them. They are very motivated. And we actually help quite a few US clients buy their pounds before they've landed in the UK to look at currency. So super useful. The other two will be a blend of stuff, but one of the two, so out of the 5, one of the two will be a returning expat. So the stats out there suggest that it's about 60% of expats either return to the UK or invest in the UK in the first 3 years.
Oh, really? That high? Blimey.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And, this is a bit of a weighted question. Why are people leaving America to come to the UK? It's not for our great cuisine or our fantastic weather. So is it to, we're not a political channel, so we can say what we like. Is it to get away from Donald Trump, or why are people leaving America?
There's somewhat all of it is connected to Trump in some way or another. So you can use him as the scapegoat for it, but in essence, it's the stock market volatility and the rich diversifying as a result. A lot of mid-class US as well will have multiple properties across the US and they are diversifying. So they'll have 7, 8, 9 properties through the US and they'll get one in Europe as a result. We actually do more flow of Americans into Portugal than we do into the UK. But yes, they're certainly pretty active as well. Hot cities, if you're interested, LA after the fires had loads of those, unfortunately, as a result through their circumstance. Other ones are Memphis and Dallas, if you're getting really picky around where you're putting your Google spend. But the up and coming one will be New York after the mayor elect there. But the application for people listening to this, if you've got a sticky listing at the moment that's still on the market and is a bit special or different, or you want to try and prolong the listing, if you go to the vendor and say you're promoting that into the US market, that might give you some longevity of the listing because they are the emotional international buyers at the moment.
So you mentioned, New York and Memphis and LA, for example. Is that where the bulk people coming from America coming to the UK, is that kind of the hubs of where they're coming from initially?
Correct. That's what we're seeing. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the good news is coming to the UK, there's no chance of getting a forest fire. So you're all good on that sort of things. Like the risk of that is minimal in the grand scheme of things.
The reason why the Americans like the UK is, like everywhere else, is being fearful of the wealth tax that may or may not come in. US nationals are always taxed globally on their income. So that doesn't change their circumstance. And as a result of others not buying in the UK, they see more value in the UK. And, who doesn't want to buy a castle? So
Oh, absolutely, quite. Yeah, I remember reading that a while ago about the tax for Americans wherever you are in the world, you're getting taxed by America still. I thought that was a pretty yeah. We take it for granted in the UK you can leave the UK and not get taxed by the UK, but yeah, I never knew that it was an American thing to get taxed anywhere in the world.
it is. And what you'll hear a bit about it more around there, because what we've got to remember, yes, the UK political cycle is peak at the moment. But last year was a record for how many people, like billions of people, went to the polls. So there's new governments everywhere. And those governments are making and breaking the pledges that they got to get into government. So, for instance, this week at the moment, they're talking about it in France. If people leave France, they might be taxed on their income for 4 years, theoretically. So it's one of those things that gets talked about. But again, what I would say is lots of people want to sell papers and media and get attention. That doesn't necessarily mean that that will come true. Like some people listening to this might have heard that, oh, Portugal's visas, golden visas were turned off. Yes, one of them was. They still got another 25, 26. So it's just the perception of it. But people listening to this in the agency world, it's being aware that there will be more opportunity out there. You will see this theme of people leaving or you representing people that are leaving. And it's to note that there are services like ourselves that might be useful to help those sales happen, add that value and generate a new revenue stream for you as a partner as well. Yeah.
So let's jump into this. So I don't often, I don't know, how can I put this? I don't like people kind of pitching their services, so to speak, on the podcast, but I'm going to make an exception this time because it's something that I had no idea. If you said to me, so we caught up at the Voice of the Agent survey recently, and if you had said to me recently that this was even an industry, I'd be like, oh yeah, it kind of makes sense, but could I name one company or one, like, no, not in a million years. And then we obviously had to talk about the amount of money you are sending around the world on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And I was like, Christ, this is like enormous. This is like an absolute machine that is going on in the background that I had no idea. So give me an idea about the sort of quantities of money or people you're dealing with to give people who are listening in the sort of size of the operation or the sums we're dealing with here.
There are lots of people in our industry, so this is an industry thing. This is me promoting the fact that agents should be aware that our industry exists. Check other people out as well, that's fine. Us as a business here, we're trading about £25 million a day. So we'll be doing over 10 billion this calendar year. What I would say is huge, huge margins. Sorry, huge, huge volumes, teeny wee margins. We are a volume flow business. Pretty similar to UK estate agency world as well, right? Especially if you compare it to agency fees on the continent, a bit different.
Mm. So big old operation to say the least. And I guess this is because it's focused towards people who are not only buying in the UK from overseas, but also people who are exiting the UK as well. And talk me through how or why an agent should care. So if I came to you and said, "Oh, Steve, I've got a vendor who's moving to Spain because they want to, go live on the beach and whatever it may be," why should an agent care and have a conversation with you?
Maybe some stories will resonate. And let me give you
Right.
2 or 3 for buyers and sellers so that you get an idea of it. From an agent's perspective, the first thing is that this is to protect those sales because the exchange rate is moving so much. So when I started, if the exchange rate moved 0.5%, it will be on the front of the FT. Big news. Now, if we see it 3 days a week, it's a slow week. It's moving a lot. And if you're negotiating on properties of a couple of percent, the market, the currency market might be giving it. So protective piece, we helped an American rebuy their family home down on the South Coast earlier on this year. Love this one. This was back in April. We were introduced at the time that the offer was accepted, and we did what's called a forward contract, which is a buy now, pay later option. Importantly, allowed them to lock in the exchange rate so they knew how much it was going to cost. When the completion came around in June, July time, we did the maths, and if they bought the pounds at that time instead of at the beginning, it would have cost them another $180,000. The deal wouldn't have happened, the sale would have been lost, the agent wouldn't have got anything from it, so it's a protected piece. Other ways to consider it, we had one not too long ago that I might have even mentioned to you last week, sorry, where we had a client, a buyer and seller, which were down to the last 0.5%, which I appreciate everyone listening to this could probably resonate with this. Pretty frustrating, 0.5%. But they recognized that the buyer was bringing money over from Europe. Introduced us, we did the quick math there and then on the call. The bank was giving them X, we were giving them Y. They could increase their offer by 1.5% as a result of the benefit we could give. So the next phone call was to the agent. The deal was done by the end of the day. So really powerful to broker that piece. But the story, probably from a vendor's perspective, is the one I should probably print T-shirts about, to be honest, because again, the exodus is big. People listening to this and seeing it, please go through your pipeline. You'll identify people that you haven't even noted you can use this service. We had get quite a few agents that will contact us and go, I've got this cash buyer, no chain, but they're putting a below asking price offer in, but I know this vendor is moving to wherever. Help. And I'll go, right, okay, right, in a minute, here we go. And I'd say to them, go to the vendor and say, look, you've got a cash buyer with no chain. It's a strong offer. It represents the local market and environment. It's below the asking price, but this below asking price offer actually now gets you more euros than if I got you a full asking price when we listed the property 3 months ago.
Mm.
Super powerful, and it ends up with me getting, I don't know, 2 pages of emojis from the agent. Offer accepted. So it can be really useful. So it can really make and break a difference of a deal.
And I guess there's a sort of a price reduction piece there as well, because if someone knows that actually their money's going to go a bit further over in Spain or Dubai or wherever they're off to, sort of thing, actually they can probably afford to drop their price down lower than they probably have thought they had done able to historically, because they know they're getting a better exchange rate.
Correct. Agents that are earning the most from us and using all the tools are doing exactly that. So if offers have been put forward and they've been cheeky and been rejected, for example, people that are listening to this now, if you've had an offer come in from someone in the US or Europe in the last 30 days, they can increase their offer by 3% without spending any more money. just because the pound is cheaper. It also means if you're setting up viewings for people, you can show them a more expensive property. That's nice, isn't it? And then from the other side, vendors, there's a big exodus at the moment to Dubai. If you know that people are doing that, it normally comes up in conversation. You will know these clients. You can get them to reduce their price, their asking price by 5% compared to 3, 4 months ago. They'd still end up with the same amount of money in Dubai. Pretty useful when you're having that price realignment conversation, price reduction conversation with a client at the moment. It can soften the blows. The market's contracting, but because the exchange rate's gone up, you'll actually still end up with the same amount. It's a different variable. And equally, who else on the high street is going to say that? So that really helps you stand out and differentiate and see the whole angle of the client.
Because I would imagine from a uneducated idiot's point of view, that if you sold your house and the money went into your, your Halifax bank account, for example, most people probably just go to the Halifax and go, "Yeah, I'm moving to Spain, by the way. Can you send it over to, this account details or whatever it may be?" Is that the most common route that people go down?
The bank is still the enemy, I'm afraid, yes. People go for ease and they assume the rate is the rate, but it's not. In the nicest of ways, if we couldn't provide a value, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have 200 people on the payroll, so we can add that value and save it. What I'd equally ask everybody is, when was the last time the bank rang any of us? With the market moving, our service to a client is current rate of exchange is X, it's better than the bank, but the trend is this. These days and these events are coming up. It could go up for this reason, could go down for this reason. This is the risk to reward ratio. How do you want to manage it? Do all of those pieces for it. So in the same way that might be relatable to people listening to this, how many times does a client say to you, is this the right time to buy? Should I be withdrawing my listing now for spring? They're always asking you when is the best time to buy and sell a property. We're providing that same information and education from a currency market perspective to help them get the most for their money. And doesn't that help when we can increase someone's budget from an agent's perspective?
And you mentioned, 3% earlier. That's a fairly decent swing. What's the average house price in the UK? 300 grand, let's say, for the ease of my maths. So what, like 9 grand swing just in the currency exchange?
Yes. The pound to dollar exchange rate this year has swung by over 16%.
Is that in our benefit or is that in America's benefit?
Depends what day you look at it, comparison. What I'm saying, it's moving all the time, and the good agents know a little about a lot and know people who can help. And I want people to start considering our industry as a value add because there are an increasing number of people leaving. And equally, it's going to be very easy for people to identify those American inquiries when you get them. Extra pair of white gloves, make the intro, and all I'm after is that opportunity to show people what we can do differently and introduce them to our industry and what we do.
Hmm. I've got a question for you now that you're going to hate, if that's okay. Going to hate it for a few reasons. So before we press record, Steve mentioned that he went to a few conferences and everyone's saying to him, "What's happening in the budget? What's happening in the budget?" Well, really bad news is that this is going to come out after the budget, so everyone's going to know whether you're right or not really quickly. So my question is, by the time we record this, the budget will have landed. What parts do you expect to impact the trend of people leaving the UK?
Friends leaving the UK, in either case, you'd think the government is going to be raising taxes some way or another. The media sells on fear, not good news. So that theme that we're all hearing and seeing about people leaving and wanting to leave isn't going away. That will be continued to talk about. So you will continue to be representing vendors who are selling as they leave the UK. And the consideration there is yes, is from a currency perspective, but equally, did you know that in Europe and Dubai, the agents out there are so hungry for the buyers that they'll share their comms. So rather than just saying goodbye and off you go, there's a lot of added value you can add there. With regards to the budget itself, let's see what they come in. We're not all too hopeful around how helpful it's going to be for the property market. But what I would say is I'd be surprised if they bring bad news in effective immediately. So if they do bring anything negative or stamp duty changes and things, that would probably be impacted for the next tax year. So that means we're going to get a shot in the arm for some activity for the next few months, and then we'll have another spell similar to the pattern we've all felt for the last few years of what do we compare normal to? What year was it that was normal? We'll see what happens. But yeah, that'll be my view.
So let's talk about money, if that's okay. because again, normally I would not talk about money or commissions or anything like that on the podcast in any way, shape, or form. But when we had a chat the other day, and I was like, out of interest, what's the average agent kind of get off the back of this? I was like, Jesus Christ, like that's like proper money that you're getting through in it. So, first of all, before you give away how much it is, are we okay to talk about it? 'Cause I'm very sure, obviously, you guys are regulating all this sort of chat. So, are we okay to talk about it?
We are, yes.
Good, excellent. So in that case, if you listen to this podcast or watching on YouTube, have a little 10 seconds to yourself and think to yourself, how much you think you would get paid for passing Steve across a vendor who's looking to move out of the country or someone who's looking to buy a property in the country. Just introduction. Steve, there you go, mate. There's someone's phone number. They're looking to buy a house or looking to move abroad. Have a little think to yourself for 2 seconds, how much you think that figure will be. Steve, answer the question. Put everyone out their misery. Give me the sort of ballpark we're looking at.
On average, if the client is outside of London, you're looking at about 2,400. There are plenty of agents out there that say to me, "I've earned more through doing this than selling the bloody property," because it's a text, a WhatsApp, and an email. I had a phone call with an agent earlier who was whooping down the phone. He introduced me to a client, an international client who was wanting to buy one of his listings. It had already sold, but he introduced me. I've just sent him 5.5 grand from that client that he never met.
Hmm. I know people talk about, third-party suppliers and go, "Oh, it's financial services and solicitors." But really, it sounds like it's be, financial services, solicitors, and a currency guy.
In Europe, we're the second service they introduce. Yes. In Europe, this is Europe's that playground, as I said. That's why you'll see us on buses and hear us on the radio and billboards out of the airports and things. Did make me laugh this summer when agents went on holiday and I'd get loads of snaps of, "Is this your office?" Yeah, we're pretty big in Europe. Yeah. But yeah, it's something worth considering and thinking about. And that's all I'm trying to do here is just educate and inform that this service is there. Ultimately, we're helping clients increase offers and they're happy with it. Otherwise, they wouldn't use us. We've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of five-star reviews from this year alone. And it's one of those win-win-win bits. Like, it's very similar from a mortgage perspective and from an introduction perspective. So it's not a scary thing to do. It's just asking the question, where are you going and what are you doing? It is, I- maybe this will help. Lots of agents I speak to about this, I kind of go, well, when you talk to them, when you're doing the MA, kind of go, we get lots of international inquiries. When we do, we introduce a currency specialist to make sure the money's right. And that's it. And agents listening to this will know vendors that FOMO in, that will tell them 3 times they're in the top tax bracket or they're this and that. No. And I'll often get an agent reach out to me after I've done that, going, "It worked, Steve. I've won a new listing." I go, "Congratulations. Where's the client going?" I go, "Oh, no, they're not moving abroad. They just like the fact that I knew the international bit. I was different from everybody else." So it's just something to consider. It's not an every client thing, but I can assure you it's more clients than you think. And hopefully people are listening to this going, "Oh yeah, I've had one of these this year. Oh, I've got one now, or I'm talking to one later about it." Just bear in mind that our industry exists and don't miss that opportunity is what I'm saying.
Well, I suppose if you're talking to a seller inside their property and you're sat there having a chat with them, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're moving to Spain or we're going to Portugal or we're going to France, wherever it may be." Your job as an agent is to be sort of a problem solver slash enabler of things. You're not there to deliver all the answers. You're there to say, right, here's the options in front of you. You want box A, box B, or box C. This is the pros of box A. Here's the cons of box B, and here's the cons of box C. That's kind of your job in a nutshell. It's kind of paint the roads out and say, this is probably the best option for you. So, being a well-rounded agent, if someone says, "Oh, we're looking to move abroad, by the way," and you go, "That's cool, excellent. I've got a guy who can help you out with that. So he's got the money sort of things. Actually, you'll probably get a better rate than the banks. Have a chat with him. He'll probably save you a couple of grand on your purchase side of things, means you can get a nicer house over in France." Does that sound all right? I mean, it doesn't sound like the hardest sell in the world.
I can assure you it's not honest. It's like, yeah, you're moving money. You need to speak to Steve. You'll thank me for this. I'll introduce you. And a quick email and WhatsApp and off we go. And the worst thing that can happen is the client goes, "No, thank you," or they speak to me and go, "No, I'm okay." That's fine, but no one else will be talking about it in your area. So it's just something to think about.
This is a world that I never knew existed. This is a world that I feel like I missed out on. What I gone?
Welcome to this area of the world. There we go.
Yeah.
There's a whole ecosystem of services around international clients. Massive. Like I've been involved in a place in the Sun exhibitions in the past. I've done the TV bits for it all and stuff. There is a lot of movement of money, and we were chosen for a reason for a lot of people. But yeah, have a look at the industry. Have a consider it. All I'm after is the opportunity to show people what it is and what it means and have a go at it, right? And I think what's also worth mentioning, Chris, is you've part of one of the communities and things, and you're seeing the content and information out there as well. Like all good agents, most agents want to know a little bit about a lot. So if people want access to that, like this week we saw jobless status. I know this is going out in a few weeks, but we were giving notifications to agents and to networks to go, well, the likelihood of an interest rate cut in December has jumped up from 45% to 80% today because of this event. And how many agents aren't asked around interest rates on the sofas and in the high street? So if people want to join those communities to get a bit of content, let me know.
Amazing. Well, I've got a couple of quick fire questions, if that's okay. What do you reckon is, what's one myth about currency or international moves that agents get wrong, or just people get wrong in general, including agents as well?
That people won't do it or people aren't open to it. People forget to ask. It's that gut wrenching piece and things for it. From a client's perspective, you will be surprised how many people go, well, do you want to do it now or later? This is what the market's doing. Oh, I think the rate's going to get better. Okay, why do you think that? The guy at the pub said so.
Yeah, look, they told me.
He must work for me. So that's the other thing that'll often happen, and we'll end up getting an email at 2 in the morning from the client going, I'm not sleeping. We need to talk. So yeah, that's normally what happens.
And it's out of interest now. So you would go forward to a client and say, this is what the future look like for that currency for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months or so. This is the good news coming. This is the bad news coming. Where do you want to put your chips down? So basically, do you want to lock that in today, or do you want to sort of roll the dice slightly in some way and leave it for 2, 3 months?
So we'll go, here's the rate, here's the saving against the bank, here's the theme that's going on, here's what this bank's saying, what that bank's saying, here's the risk to reward ratio. These events are coming up. How do you want to plan that? How do you want to manage that so they can make a more informed decision on it? Yes. We'll never tell them what to do. We're not giving advice, but we're giving education and information because the media just sell papers, whereas we're going, here's what these banks, that banks are saying, here's what this means to your budget so they can make a more informed decision. Again, that same point, how many agents get asked around whether or not this is the good time to buy or sell a property? We're doing that similar kind of information from a currency perspective. Yes.
Steve, you've been a great guest today. Thank you so much for coming on. There's going to be a clear divide in people that listen to this podcast. One half of people will go, oh, finance, money, yawn, boring. I want to listen to some hypey, podcasty stuff. And that's fine. The other half would have gone, actually, Jesus Christ, like I've been sleeping on this for the last 10 years or so. And if only I knew this over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I could have brought in 10, 20, 30, 40 grand into this business by now by the fact of just saying, yeah, just text Steve.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it. It's just give it a thought, give it some consideration, give the industry an opportunity to work, and you can see it for yourself. It's surprising how many people I send commissioned, but then all of a sudden the next day they send me 3 referrals because here's this one nail. I wasn't fibbing. It is that. But yeah, just give it some thought is what I consider. It is as easy as it sounds, honest. Uh, but yeah, hopefully I don't look too scary. If people have got questions or queries, let me know.
Amazing. Steve, thank you so much. Been a brilliant guest, mate. Thanks so much for coming on.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the invite.